What is up, you guys? So today I'm gonna show you the new car I bought. I've done it. I finally convinced Val to let go of the Navigator, and this car is the car that she agreed to do it for.
You're the curse now and the prize. Always on the surface, but worth before your purpose. But some things you can't purchase. Selfishly in focus, how deeply you have burned us. So sweet of you to notice. Golden boy, do you see what golden boy, got your head so high.
It was a struggle. I'm not gonna lie, she did not want to even try to test drive it because it is not the normal car buying experience. And when I say that, I mean in almost every way negative. Here's what it is.
Blinded by false currency. Dress so clean, filthy like your legacy. Hungry for attention, no room for.
I went to Tesla to test drive that car, oh, 4 times? I think it was 4 times. And it's been for different ones, so you can't even say for sure it was, well, it's because you're trying to drive the Model S and they didn't have Model S or the X or the 3. I've tried to drive all 3 at some point. I only successfully test drove a car there 1 time.
Golden boy, got your head so high, but you still ain't one to worship. You think you're perfect, but you ain't.
Really do not want anyone coming in to test drive. We had to park. Dustin is going all the way to the water whatever place store because Tesla refuses to allow parking for anybody but Tesla. So we should have Ubered here. My other concern is that we want to drive a Model S. They didn't ask us when we went in there, so I'm thinking that they're gonna be like, well, we got this 3 right here on the showroom. Because last time we came in, they didn't want us to, they're like, oh, we might have a Model S. Well, looking around going, you got a shit ton of Model S's, so we'll see.
You think you're perfect, but you ain't.
The interior would bother me with the fact that it's just, there's nothing here. It's so open. But the more I drive it, the more I'm actually really starting to like the feel of not being confined in, and like, it's not a car that needs a cockpit feel to it. It doesn't need all the controls around you because it drives itself. So I mean, you don't need to have everything at the ready. Even the buttons on the steering wheel are very minimal, but still do quite a few functions. And the more you get familiar with them, the more you can work with them. I do miss, on the quick accelerations, I miss the engine noise. Just driving like this, I don't. But when I really try to go, I miss the sound. I feel my brain still wants that sound. It might be something you get used to. The way the screen, everything's integrated on it, is different than I'm used to. I'm used to the screen doing stuff, but there's physical buttons for like popping the trunk or something like that. This is all controlled on the main screen. It's really cool to flip the charging port open. It closes itself when you're done. It's super smooth. There's way more room in the back for the girls to sit as far as leg room goes. The width of the car is the same as the M5, but the M5 has the hump in the middle, and it makes whoever's sitting in the middle spread their legs to have to fit on each side. Whereas this is totally flat, so their feet are a little more comfortable. Seems to be a little more leg room in it for them. Tons of storage because it's got the front compartment, the rear compartment, the app, what it can do, what it can't do. It does a lot of really cool stuff. It can cool the car, from the app, so when you get to the car, it's cooled off. Oh, the biggest complaint I have about buying the Tesla so far, I mean, I've owned it for less than a week. The biggest complaint I have is the actual store you go buy it from. The whole entire process wasn't great. Now, the guy that did the test drive with us that you saw, he was the only good person I can say at the dealership. And everyone else I experienced there, they were not good. The car itself is great, you know, but it's rough that you have to go through that much lack of customer service just to get the car that you're trying to buy. The Bluetooth integration is not as good as it is on the M5 or even my Raptor, it seems like, for that. It has it, and it's an option on there, but it doesn't seem to be able to pull information from the phone and put it up on the screen. Now, it could be what I've used it for so far. Maybe there's other apps that it's capable of doing that. I really think they should have, at least, even if it's with a USB, integrated Apple CarPlay with it, Android Auto. With how technology heavy this car is, it makes no sense that they made it totally proprietary and didn't think to the point that we are so tied to our phones at this point that they should have made it to where if we choose, we can bypass the Tesla stuff and go to the phone stuff, and it could just straight up screen mirror. There are plenty of positives about this. The negatives, though, are just kind of glaring ones that it seems more like purposely left out, which at the end of the day, we're the customer and you should be trying to serve us as far as giving us the most you can, because these aren't cheap cars, and there's just a thing here or there where you're like, really? Say the same thing about a lot of the higher end cars though. Like, if a mid-level Kia has it as an option, a higher level car than that should have it as an option. It doesn't make sense, it's not there. One of the coolest things about this car is the dog mode. So when you get out, you set it to dog mode, puts a big display on the screen, and it tells the actual inside temperature of the car, so it'll adjust accordingly. So like you see here in the video, it goes from in the 80s down. So it's actually always legitimately that temperature inside that it says it is, and it allows you to take your dogs with you without fear of having them sit in there and get too hot, or someone breaking your window because they think they are. The rear seats cannot control their own climate. Like, you set the front and that's it. There's no more controls for the back. There's air vents, but for the level of car this price suggests this car is, it should have that. That's a pretty common feature these days. It only has heated seats. There are no AC seats. Surprisingly, I haven't listened to the speakers much, but when I do turn them on when the kids are in there and want to listen to music or something, the speakers are actually really, really good. It even has its own streaming app that I think, like, it's not branded anything else. I haven't had commercials on it yet, so I think it's a Tesla streaming app, which is really cool. And I'm kind of a huge fan of it to where I haven't even activated satellite radio for it yet. So I know that they're supposed to be minimalist inside and not a lot of stuff, which I'm a fan of, except for the fact the doors are fairly thick, the door panels, and there are 0 pockets or any storage area there. So when you're trying to get stuff out of the way, they're like, I keep business cards in my car. I can't put them there. Everything has to be in the center, and there's really no other place to put it and have it accessible to you while you're inside the cab of the vehicle. The back of the driver's and passenger seats are a hard shell, which I actually really, really like. It's a big thing for me. It's not soft, so if your kid pushes on the seat, it's not like pushing on your back. The problem I have with them is purely just the texture of them, because it, like, just a little wipe with a foot and it's a big dirt smear, and then they're constantly like finger smudges and stuff like that. So I feel like they would have been better suited to make a different texture or finish on them to keep them cleaner looking even when they're a little messy. One thing about the car aesthetically that I love is the entire roof is glass. And it's a heavy tint on the glass to where it's not overly hot, but I still wish, like on, you know, a Land Rover or even the Jag F-Type, has a screen that can come over the glass roof. So if you choose to, or you're getting hot from the sun, you could shade it somehow. This roof doesn't have it. They just assume that their tint is dark enough, and that's the end of it. So it's a little bit of a bummer, because there are times when you're sitting in it and the sun just beating down on you that it would be really nice to block it. It sits 5 adults fairly comfortably. The problem is the back doors, the cutout by the back wheel takes up so much room that to get in and out of those back seats is actually a lot harder than you would think. Like if I hold my hand up, the opening for like your feet to get through is about the size of my hand, and that makes it problematic for, you know, getting in and out consistently if you're not a kid. The kids seem to be okay with it, but when I tried it, it was a task. It wasn't very easy. So I wish that somehow they could have made it easier to get in and out of the back seats, but that's not a huge deal considering you can do it fairly quick, and it fits 5 adults pretty comfortably. So everything kind of on these cars is automated or something like that. The rear hatch opens and closes, which pushes the button. The door flap for charging opens and closes. The front trunk pops, and then you have to physically open it yourself and then close it yourself. I understand there's a latch, but I feel like there could be some way that they could have set it up to electronically open and close, and just if its drive is engaged, it would like soft close in a sense, like some doors do. It just doesn't. It makes no sense. So, you know, my car's black, so when I push on it, the big handprint to close it, and it's really annoying considering they specifically tell you when you get it not to slam it like you would a hood. You have to set it down and then push on it, and it leaves fingerprints everywhere. Wondering, like, you've got that little opening for the front, but there's that giant piece of plastic behind it. So I was deciding, I took it off just to see, like, what's back there. And there's a lot. Like, car battery? I didn't know they had a car battery. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, but it surprised me. The instrument cluster is really cool. You can customize each side to show what you want, where you want. The left side, when you're using the navigation, has a really cool look for the navigation to show you where to go, and makes it so you don't really have to take your eyes off the road, which makes it less annoying that there is not like a heads-up display or something like that. And I know I'm judging a lot of this off of stuff that not every car has, but when you're kind of known to be ahead of the game for technology, to be so far behind in some areas just is confusing. But the gauges, I feel like they're one of the coolest out of any car I have, especially in the Model S, where it shows your car and then the little marshmallow cars around it while you're driving to show like where traffic is, and you know, the lines turn blue when you're in auto drive, and the little sensors, if they sense something, which sensor it is. Overall, I think it's an amazing cluster. They really updated that, and I think they show how advanced they are in that section. One of the coolest parts too is the auto adjust suspension. So it's like there's quite a bit of play that you can do in there, but if you keep going into a parking lot where you set it to very high so you don't scrape, it remembers it, and it remembers the location, and it will auto lift it for you, so you don't have to remember every time. It already takes care of it for you, and that's a huge thing for me, because I'll drive it, Val will drive it, and I might not go into a parking lot, no, it needs to be lifted, but she has, and she set it, and then it fixes the chance of really scraping up the front end. And I mean, the travel's pretty big. Like the amount it goes from low to high, it's a big gap. Overall, this car is, I mean, it's been a week, so some of this stuff that I'm complaining about could just, I won't care later, or you know, it'll wear on me after a while and I'll be kind of bummed about it. But overall, so far, I'm impressed with it. It's a really easy car to drive. Val even mentioned that it's a lot like playing a video game in a sense, where you drive it and it's just so easy. My parents were here, my dad drove it around a lot with the kids, and he was even shocked at how nice and easy of a drive it was, and he was pretty impressed with it. And he always buys old cars, so the fact that he even likes something this new and had this much technology involved, because he's the guy who's like, power windows are worthless because it's just another thing to break. He was really impressed with it. So I mean, that tells you overall the drivability of the car is through the roof. It's amazing. There's just like, again, just little things that you're like, for the price, this should be better. And that's really the only way I could, like, all the negatives are, for the price, this should be better.
Like, subscribe, and share, and hit the notifications bell, and give this video a big thumbs up.
Peace!